Hello, hope you're doing marvellously well. It's Warren Huart here. Please, as ever, subscribe. If you hit the bell there, you'll get a notification when we have a new video. And of course, you can go to producelikeapro.com and you can sign up for the email list and get a whole bunch of free goodies. Okay, so what are we doing today? We're going to do 5 quick delay tricks. For those of you who haven't already seen it, last week we did 5 quick reverb tips. So these are 5 really popular things that I do. A couple of these are kind of little secret weapons that I learned from people much smarter than me. So I'll show you those as well. So what's the first one? Well, the first one is fairly obvious, and it's an extension of what we did in the reverb one, and that is side chaining your delay. So here we have the vocal. It's once again, conditions by David of the Workday release. So let's create a new track. So we're going to go in Pro Tools, we're going to go Shift Command N, and we're going to make it a stereo auxiliary track. Now, quite often, because I don't put the effect on the vocal itself, I create a separate one. Quite often, I'll use the same send. How dare you? Well, the reason why I do that is because if I'm automating the delay on its own auxiliary, I don't need to automate the send. Now, you can, but you can have a separate one, and I think for that one out of every now and then that you might need a separate send, we can set it up. But often when I'm moving quickly, I won't do that. All right, so I've created 11 and 12 here. Let's send that here. Find an output. All right, so we're going to call this vocal or just vox delay, and we'll make it sidechain. Okay, so now the tempo of the song is at 182. So let's go and pick one of my favorite delays. There's quite a few. There's a lot of really good delays. But one I particularly like, and you'll see me using a lot, of course, is our good friend Echo Boy. I use this a lot. So as I said, the tempo is 182. So I hit this button up here on my Echo Boy, you'll see it immediately defaults to 182. Now I want the mix to be 100%. The reason why I want it to be 100% is I don't need the dry signal mixed in there. And as you can see, it's set at the moment, defaulted to an 8th note. And you know what? I'll keep that. So let's have a listen to just a regular 8th note delay.
And I can't find one more deserving of all the blame. I know myself well, and everything points that way.
Got some feedback on it. Sounds good. It defaulted to studio tape delay. We could try other ones. We could try all kinds of different things, but we'll go there. So it's a single echo, 8th note, decent amount of feedback. Have a listen.
And I can't find one more deserving.
Sounds good, but it sounds muddy, doesn't it? Because what we're hearing is we're hearing this delay underneath the real vocal, and it's getting in the way. So the first inclination would normally be to turn it down. However, we don't want to do that. We're going to sidechain it. So we'll choose a reverb. I'm going to go with a good old-fashioned R-comp. And I'm now going to bring it in with the same input, just take 11. So the same one that's sending to that delay.
And I can't find one more deserving of all the blame. I know myself well, and everything.
So what am I doing? Well, immediately you can hear the delay dies, but it's coming up after each phrase. So it's da 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 da, and you hear a little bit of the delay after it. It's a wonderful trick. So it cleans it up under the vocal, gets rid of that muddiness, but lets you hear, gives you the illusion that there's more delay there because it's being sidechained. So what we're doing is we're sending from the vocal to the delays you'd expect, but I'm also from that same send sending to a compressor that's set after the delay.
And I can't find one more deserving of all the blame. I know myself.
See there? Let's try this little phrase here where you...
Now I can never change. That these conditions are mine alone to claim. Now I can never change. That these conditions are mine alone to claim.
Cool. Just for schnitz and schniggles, let's do this. In Pro Tools, I'm going to do Shift Option D, which is going to duplicate this effect here. And now on the Echo Boy, the second one, I'm actually going to make this shorter. I'm going to make it a quarter note. So that'll be kind of fun. Have a listen here.
Alone to claim.
It's pretty tasty because it's really good for filling up space in production work where maybe the vocal is like hanging over into a bridge. You can go da 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 da. It's really nice. It's like it adds some class to it. Now, I learned that from Tim Palmer because he mixed something for me and I loved the effects. I was like, how are you doing it? It must take so long to automate all the delays. And he's like, no, I just stick a compressor and sidechain it. And I was like, oh. So quick trick, wonderful on the vocal. Okay, next one. This is a favorite of mine. In this instance, we can just create a mono, if you like, track. And so mono auxiliary. Change our output the same. Again, I could use the same input if I wanted, if I didn't want to automate it. I'll create a different one, but often I use the same send. If it's my production, I know what I'm doing, and I realize where I'm going to head. I quite often just use the same sends because I'm automating the actual effects themselves. So we're going to call this, yes, slap delay. Now, you might say, well, Warren, you know, slap delays are great if you want Elvis kind of style or 50s. Well, that is true, but they're also fantastic for just adding energy. So I can go and pick Echo Boy, just the mono is fine. I actually want the mono. There's a reason for that. I'm trying to make this sit underneath the vocal and give it some energy. Distorted slap delay. So once again, 100% mix, so just the effective signal. I'm going to go for a really, really short. So 1/64th, set the tempo.
More deserving of all the blame. I know myself.
Saturation. Now on this particular delay, and it doesn't matter what delay you use, I'm just going to this. I'm going to go to an Echoplex. I actually have a real Echoplex, and I do this all the time with a real Echoplex. So I'm going to do the same thing. I hit it too hard, and it does this.
More deserving of all the blame. I know myself well, and everything points that way. And though I'm clean.
So let's do this. I'm going to go to pre-fade on this, and I'm going to mute the lead vocal, and you're going to hear just the effect.
More deserving of all the blame. I know myself well, and everything.
I mean, that's pretty disgusting, isn't it? It's fat, it's warm, distorted, yucky.
More deserving of all the.
I like it. And what does it do? It gives a vocal a bit more energy.
More deserving of all the blame. I know myself well, and everything points that way. And though I'm clean now, I can never change. More deserving of all the blame. I know myself well, and everything points that way. And though I'm clean now.
It's crazy when you stop that delay and you hear it keep going on and it's fantastic. But anyway, so that distorted delay there with those other delays creates a lot of energy around the vocal. But I'm a big fan of that distorted delay. And it all started from using a tape delay of the Echoplex. So, you know, Echo Boy has that. You know, almost every single delay has that. Now, if you don't have that, as a quick tip, you could do this. So let's just say, we'll just mute that for a second. You can do something as simple and obvious as this. What am I going to do? I'm going to go and I'm going to get my Sans amp plugin or any generic distortion that you've got, and then just put a delay afterwards that doesn't have a distortion. I mean, one of those, of course, would be the H delay, which is a wonderful delay, but there's no saturation on this. So, which is a great delay, don't get me wrong, but look.
More deserving of all the blame. I know myself well, and everything points that way. And though I'm clean now, I can never change. More deserving of all the blame.
So, immediately, you've got a distorted delay. Just stick a saturation plugin, you know, whatever it might be. There's so many different ones out there. You know, even some generic compressors have ways of distorting when you overdrive them, you know, anything, analog simulations. But there you go. Now, that distorted slap, I have it You can move it a little longer if I went to say maybe 132.
More deserving of all the blame.
And it starts to get a little noticeable, but I like it super, super close because then underneath really low, it just kind of gives an energy to the vocal. Okay, so what do we have next? Well, this is a fun one. So we've got these two different delays we talked about here on vocals. This is one of my favorite tricks, is we're gonna take a drum bounce. So I learned this one from Mark Endert. So let's listen to the drums soloed. In the track.
For about a year or two under these conditions.
Cool. So nice drum track. You know, if I go to the chorus here.
One more deserving of all the blame. I know myself well and everything.
Now I've got that piano part that's giving a little bit of movement, but let's just say I want to do something to help the movement of the track, but I don't want it to be another instrument. I don't want it to be something that clutters the track necessarily, i.e. not too loud. So what do? Well, I have a drum print. So this is just a stereo drum print. Exactly what we just heard. There it is again. All right, now let's go and find ourselves a nice delay. So we can go back, let's use the H delay this time, equal opportunity. And we're gonna go BPM, it's matched the BPM. Let's have a listen. It's a dotted eighth note. Now what I love about this particular delay, and as most of them these days, is you can start low passing and high passing. So it's all kind of low, mid, somewhat now. We're low passing here at 1K, we're high passing here at 162. Cool. So it's keeping out of the way of the cymbals, the high end solo our drums. Let's turn this down. So now we're turning down the delay that we just created on the drums. It's a very 60s kind of trick. And you're hearing it now just subtly. Drop it into the track. Take it out.
You don't know me. You don't
Back in.
know me like I do, but I'm still.
It's a very subtle way of just adding some movement. Now, Mark told me when he mixed Hey Soul Sister, which is a massive song that so many of mixers that I know reference because it's such a great mix. When he mixed that, Martin Tereffi had added that delay on the kick drum, which sounds like somebody kind of slapping their feet. Now, that's a lot louder than what we're doing here. And I'd originally learned this delay trick actually from Mark about 20 years ago when he mixed an album that I did about 20 years ago, when I first started out here. Wow, long time ago. It's great. It's inaudible at the moment. It's barely in there.
Know me like I do, but I've been drifting for about a year.
But it's adding a slight bit of movement. Now you can also get in there and put distortion, some saturation before it as well, and give it even more edge. It's a great way of adding subtle energy, basically to the whole track, and to give it some movement when you have a very simple kick and snare part like that. So number 4, ping pong delay. This is something that I don't often use, but when I do use it, it's for this exact reason, and that is the ability to take one instrument and make it fill a little bit more spaces. So I have this piano part. I've got stereo guitars going on in the chorus. As you can see here, I've got this one guitar here, another guitar there, using my... And that's using my trick that we talked about in the reverb video, where we have the reverb pan one side and the dry sound the other. The dry sound of the other guitar opposite with its reverb on the other side, and it creates extra width. But we have this mono piano here. So why don't we do this? Let's just take this chorus section and let's put a ping pong delay on it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new stereo track, stereo auxiliary here, and we're going to automate this just for the choruses. So we're going to call this ping pong delay. This kind of movement is very, very common in great mixers tracks. They will do these kind of things that are barely audible, but they give a little extra energy and they fill out the mix. Something a lot of people say to me all the time is like, how do I get my mix to sound thicker? I compress, I EQ, and it just seems like everything's pointy and not glued together. Well, this is a great way to help that. I think if we just go for a good old-fashioned Echo Boy again, setting it to 100% again. What I like about this is it has a ping pong setting here. Quick and easy to find. I'm going to go 8th note on one side, 16th note on the other side. I'm going to add a little bit of feedback in there. We're set to pre on our send, so that way we can listen to what it is. It's going to be chaotic because of the rhythm. Pretty chaotic. Now we'll bring in the actual piano itself. So I'm going to lo-fi it a little bit. So that means I'm going to change, and you don't have to, but for me, there's like cheap tape here. So I'm going to get that. Oh, I like that. But I'm going to high cut some of that. There's no real need to low cut this because the cheap tape setting. But ultimately, I'm narrowing it. And you could do this by putting an EQ before, like we did with the reverb on the 5 quick reverb tips. Check that video out if you haven't as well. So what do we have? We have like this little chaotic 8th and 16th note delay. Put it against the real piano, but it's low. There's a part of me that still wants to get rid of some of that high end. So what I'm going to do, this is a good little trick obviously, is actually just send less high end to it. There you go. Cool. So now let's put this all together in the track, and we have
One more deserving of all the blame. I know
mute it.
myself well, and everything points
Back in.
way. And though I'm clean,
And come down to
I
me.
can never change that these
So it's a great way of just adding a little extra energy. Very similar idea to the drums, but we're ping-ponging it so it's getting left and right, and gluing with those guitars. Number 5, last but no means least, is putting a reverb after a delay. Simple as that. It's a very obvious trick, but it's really kind of nice. So if we go back to our vocal, we'll slip back there, and you can do it on anything. Lead guitars like this as well. We'll go to our lead vocal here, and we'll create a stereo auxiliary. We'll call this delay verb, because it's a delay and a verb. And obviously, and we're going to go and get good old-fashioned H delay, do straightforward 8th note, and have a listen to that.
I know myself well, and everything points that way. And though I'm clean, now I can never change that these conditions.
And remember, we can also sidechain compress this as well, but that's a whole other thing you can do. But let's go ahead now and then just get a reverb. I'm going to go to good old-fashioned deverb. It defaults to 100% mix.
I know myself well, and everything points that way. know I can never change, that these conditions are mine alone to claim.
To be honest, just the generic of both of those. See how easy that was? I open up the H delay. I didn't change any settings whatsoever. I just changed it to an eighth note. The feedback, everything came up normally. And then I went to the first Avid reverb, straight away did the job.
I know myself well and everything points that way, and though I'm clean.
It's a great thing. I really like that delayed reverb on choruses in particular because it adds some more space. Now, what we could do, of course, is sidechain compress it afterwards. You could try that as well. But for that effect, it's one of my favorite kind of quick, simple ways of creating space on a vocal. So there you go, 5 delay tricks. I hope you enjoyed that. Please check out the 5 reverb tricks. Thank you ever so much for watching. Please subscribe, hit the notifications bell, and you'll know when we're uploading a new video. And of course, go to producelikeapro.com, sign up for the email list, and get a whole bunch of free goodies. Thank you ever so much for watching. Have a marvelous time recording and mixing.